everybody for tuning in for another episode, a brand new episode for Growth Stories. So, this is your host, Dr. Meenu, and I would like to express my thanks for all the people who have spent their time and effort and energy to listen to the previous episode. I know it was a pretty long episode, but still, those who had the courage to listen to it, kudos to them. And this particular podcast is all about people's growth story. So, this is about not to give you the motivation, but it's about just to give you the glimpse of what all they have gone through, and still they are fighting for what they believe in. So, for today's episode, I have a very special guest, Mrs. Soujanya. And just to give you a little bit about her, anyways, we will be having a detailed conversation. She's a very kind, sweet, and humble human being, mother of two lovely kids and a beautiful wife. And here she comes. So, very warm welcome, Sajanya. Welcome to the show. I'm very happy and excited to have you here.
Thank you, Meenu. Thank you so much for this invitation and such a lovely, kind words to introduce me. Of course, my children and my husband would have a different introduction to that, but I'm glad that you could do this way.
No, really, I'm super excited. One night I couldn't sleep just thinking what all I could ask. I know it's you are a very busy person, and it was very difficult to take time for even this discussion. But I'm very glad that you could make it. So thank you so much for joining and being here.
Thank you.
All right. So would you like to share with us what do you do for a living?
Very interesting. So I am a person who loves to follow passion. I think that's something that I've always been identifying myself, and I see purpose in living. So it's not about what I'm doing for living, but I always see the purpose in living, which is how I say that, okay, if you want to know what I do, you should just live my life a day. Probably you'll see how it is. But to be on a serious note, I'm an HR head for a nonprofit organization called Enabling Leadership. We are a nonprofit organization who's working with these underprivileged children in Pan India as well as in Cambodia, who we are teaching them leadership skills, which are very important in today's world, and making them leaders for tomorrow, preparing them for that, and giving them opportunity and platform for that skills that are very much needed. Of course, we don't do a classroom session, but we are more into experiential learning. So we have three different mediums. We teach through football, teach through building blocks, and we also teach through music. So we use these different mediums to ensure that we are able to enable the leadership skills in children.
Wow, this sounds so interesting. Please elaborate if you can.
No, so this is all I do for living, as in for my living, but more than that, that's just like a one-fourth of what I told you. The rest of my life is all dependent on my children and my husband, of course, because people call me social butterfly, but I'm also a very homely person who love to be with children most of the time as much as I can do, which is also took this into a consideration to, ensure that I take this decision where, why I like being with children too much.
So all that sounds so interesting because I have always heard that leadership at at that level when you go to mid managerial level, a senior level and all that, and leadership at such young age, and teaching it to children, that idea itself is so fascinating. And kudos to you that you do that for kids.
Absolutely. I think, that's the best age group for any kind of skills to be developed, right? Like I keep talking to my team members, and even when I do my campus hiring, I only talk about a very simple thing in life skills. Nobody in for a to a baby, like when you have a child, nobody has taught a child to lift the head up when it's lying. Nobody taught a child to get up and walk. It is a natural inherent skill that is always there. So is life skills. So is leadership skills. It is definitely there. We are just enabling it to give opportunities, give exposure, give a platform for them to display. Now, if you uh, talk about this story, and I've always observed this in my own child, right? Whenever there was when they're 1 year old, 2 year old, they're just trying to walk and trying to identify their physical body, their environment around. And see, there was always a ball that they used to love playing, right? And when the ball is stuck under a sofa or under a bed, nobody taught them to lift take a stick and try to pull it off, or, take a, leg, try to get that ball out. It's
Yes, yes.
simple. There was a problem and they know how to deal with it.
Hmm.
So, which is why I'm saying I would personally say, rather than teaching the millenniums or the generation of corporate people that we are into, I would love to teach the children leadership skills, because that's more inherent and that's more a fundamental requirement that we would see as we develop. Because leadership skills cannot come overnight, right? It's not
Hmm.
like you soak the batter and you make dosas next day. You need to really learn through experience and learn through the entire exposure that you're getting into, and know when to use your skills where. And
Hmm.
that's the whole intention, to start off early.
Yeah, so feel free to express either Hindi, English, or any other medium you want to. It's not कि आपको English में ही बोलना है या हिंदी में ही बोलना है. Whatever language serve the best expression of that. क्योंकि मुझे पता है जब बॉल स्टक हो जाती है तो बच्चे क्या क्या कोशिश करते हैं उसको निकालने के लिए. या इवन इफ दे आर प्लेइंग
Absolutely.
बैडमिंटन, वो बैडमिंटन जाके ट्री में कहीं लग जाती है, देन दे विल पुट अ स्टोन या कुछ भी करके बस उन्हें
Yeah,
वो
so
निकालना
they
ही है.
know, right? You don't have to teach them problem solving. They know how to
Yes,
solve problems.
yes,
It's just
yes.
that, have we taught them through their life? Do they realize? Because as we grow, it's
Mm,
not that you never solved your own problems in your whole life. But as we
true.
grow, we come up into this filter of saying, "Oh, I'm aging," or probably, "Oh, you know what? I'm growing old. I don't know. I'm in that mid 30s, mid 40s." It's not true. You can
Yes.
do anything at any point of time, and age is just a number, like most of us know, right? And I personally believe that. Honestly, I've not learned cycling till date, to be specific. But then I'm joining a bike riding classes next month. So I
Mm.
know for the fact कि मुझे सीखना है. It doesn't
हाँ.
matter, right? And so these are just our assumptions, inhibitions that we keep carrying as we grow older. I
Mm.
just feel that if, as individuals, we start learning, and I personally learn a lot from my children, a lot from my young colleagues, because that gives me a lot of learning to do what needs to be done in this generation, at least.
Super, super. All right. So, what all you do, it sounds so exciting. Probably we can have another episode only on what you do because to me it was very fascinating to hear
Yeah.
what you do. However, let us focus on you as a person. So, where were you born and what was your childhood like?
Okay, that's so I call myself an Indian because I don't like to be called or being called from where I belong to,
Okay,
because
okay.
it's not because I don't love the place. I love the place. I was born in Kolkata,
Mm-hmm.
brought up in different parts of India, from Hyderabad, Andhra Pradesh, Bangalore, Chennai, Bombay. So that's the reason. I think I've taken the best out of all these cities through my life, thanks to my father and his job. So I just, so if in short, if I have to say that, born in Kolkata, brought up in different parts of the country, and now in Bangalore for the last half of my life has been in Bangalore. So I just love where I am and what I'm doing.
आपके फादर क्या करते थे?
He's into banking. He was into banking. He's retired now, and because of he was in banking, हर 3-4 साल में हमारा transfer होते थे. So this is the story that I keep telling my children. So when I'm trying to change the school this year, so I've been talking to them, saying that, they're like, "Oh my God, Mama, 8 years we have been in the same school. Now you're changing our school. We are going to miss friends. We're going to miss, all of these emotions
Mm.
come into play." I said, "Hey, for me, every second year I had a best friend, because I had to
Mm.
shift school. I had to move a city of all the places. So मेरे लिए it was equally difficult, right? For me as a child, I was adapting to the situation because I had no choice, because my father was moving, my parents were moving, I had to move. But in this whole journey, I feel I'm very good in talking to strangers now. I'm
Mm.
very comfortable. You go tell me, go talk to this random person. I will be more than happy to go interact with them and know more about them, because that's what has taught me in the journey, right? Okay, make new people, you meet new people, you greet them, you understand them, you bond with them, right? And that also gave me a lot of opportunity, saying that I have friends around the world right now, right? I know, like सब लोग बोलते हैं मुझे जुगाड़ू बुलाते हैं, because I think literally I do जुगाड़ू wherever I'm going, but I literally don't have to find a place if I have to travel anywhere, because I have
Mm-hmm.
some friend or the other who's, happily connected with me. So that's the experience that I had because of the movement that I went through, like every 3 years, different school, different class. अच्छा तू मेरी best friend है, तू मेरा best friend है. This kept happening to me through my life. So if you tell me who's my best friend, probably I have a list of it to share it with you. But they're all my good friends, and I still are connected with all of them, right? It's about how you build your relationships with them rather than just saying ki, one school, one best friend through my life. I don't know. I'm personally, I'm not a person towards that side.
Probably you are blessed to have that. Again, I can see the relation between what you said just now. You teach children so that from the young age you can just emerge those qualities like leadership or so, because of your that kind of childhood कि आपके पापा का ट्रांसफर होता था, आप शिफ्ट करते थे, because you had no choice. But that particular condition had made you do this, because when we grow up as a individual, as an adult, we cannot talk to people just like that. But अगर आप बचपन से वो करते हैं, that is inbuilt in you, right?
Absolutely. And there is a lot of resilience, there's a lot of grit that you build in this whole thing. I thank my parents for that. And I'm glad that is what we're teaching today's children about it, because I'm looking forward to that kind of an environment. We are saying that every child can be a leader. We are saying our belief is we are all talking about a global citizenship, right? If I'm saying a global citizenship, then everybody should be comfortable talking to anybody. You
True.
can't filter it out saying because अच्छा ये मेरे बैकग्राउंड का नहीं है, ये मेरे स्कूल का नहीं है, मेरे एजुकेशन का नहीं है, मेरे रिलीजन का नहीं है. All of this are all filters that are getting, it's a prejudice that we have been building, and unfortunately our generation is in that fix. And I'm really hoping and expecting that this is not getting carried away to the next generation.
So true, so true. That I'm glad that you are actually implementing what you have learned in your childhood. So that's the best part. So how was you as a child? मतलब कैसा बच्चा थे आप? Were very obedient, naughty, or what? Feel free to express how much you
Yeah,
want.
totally. I was, as a child, I was a very quiet child, to be honest. I used to not talk too much. And I mean, what I at least remember, and my mom keeps saying, in fact, my dad says, "Ab to bigad gayi hai." Like he thinks I was better off when I was a kid and not anymore. As a child, I was like somebody who was very organized, very disciplined. Not that I'm not right now, but I was personally very disciplined. Uh, मेरा एक कैलेंडर होता था खुद का कि मैं सुबह उठूं स्कूल. आई वाज आई थिंक वन ऑफ माय सिबलिंग्स में मैं ही हूँ जो स्कूल जाने के लिए रोती थी. So and then I used to, as soon as I come back from school, I had to sort things out, like keep homework के लिए क्या क्या करना है, कपड़े change करना है, and keeping everything, like my surrounding had to be like perfect.
Wow.
भाई किसी का कुछ हो जाता था, then I used to get very angry and upset. Not that I used to make ruckus about it, but I used to sit down and clean again. But the fact was, I used to finish all my homework and everything, and then go down, spend time with my grandparents. We never stayed in a apartment kind of a thing in the beginning. Later on, I had like these because of my dad's transfer and all. We were traveling, but never. Had this whole big gang who's like that running around and jumping on over the walls. I think my friend circle was as simple as my lifestyle. So we didn't have much of that challenges. And my brother was opposite to me, of course. So जो भी नहीं करना चाहिए बच्चे को वो करता था, जो भी करना चाहिए बच्चे को मैं करती थी. So we had a good balance for our parents, I believe.
आपके बच्चे भी ऐसे हैं?
Yes, yes, very much. But it's in a different form. My son is the quieter, and my daughter is the naughtier. So there is a balance of that as well.
ओके ओके तो आपकी स्कूलिंग फिर कहाँ हुई मतलब फाइनली वेयर डिड यू डू योर प्लस टू और पीयूसी
That's a good question. So that had a kind of a little different story altogether. I was in Mumbai when I was doing my 10th, 11th, and I was always interested in doing psychology and sociology as my major courses, and I did that in Mumbai. What had happened was by then my father had to get transferred back. वो ऐसे होता है ना तुम पढ़ाई करने की कोशिश करते हो your father is like okay let's go. So that's what happened and when I had to move back to Hyderabad which was in Telangana now. Um, so when we moved back I said मुझे तो psychology करना है 11th में I did my psychology and I wanted to finish my 12th in psychology. Uh, Surprisingly, the education system in Andhra Pradesh back then was not so feasible. They only had commerce, science, and math. या तो इंजीनियरिंग बनो या
डॉक्टर
तो
बन
सीए
जाओ
बनो या तो डॉक्टर बन जाओ इसके
हाँ
अलावा उनके पास कुछ नहीं था एंड आई वाज लाइक यार मैं करूँ तो क्या करूँ लाइक यू नो आई डिडंट वांट टू स्टडी एनी ऑफ दोस सब्जेक्ट्स then I so remember this. There was this head of education where we went for the 11th and 12th board because they had to write board exams for 11th and 12th. They said बॉम्बे में तो बोर्ड तो सिर्फ 10वें और 12वें में लिखते थे हम लोग. So they said no आपको 11th का बोर्ड एग्जाम लिखना पड़ेगा. I said but मैंने तो साइकोलॉजी किया मुझे साइकोलॉजी करना है. तुम पागलों के बारे में क्यों पढ़ना चाहती हो? This was a statement. I will never forget this statement. I said, psychology is not pagalo ka padna. You know, I'm trying to tell this to the head of education, saying that this is not pagalo ka padna. But so he said that, and I said, okay, fine. Let me not struggle my life. And I just wanted to clear my 12th so that I can get back to psychology where I wanted to. So I had to redo my 11th and then do my 12th, and I took commerce back then.
Okay. So this was in the year? Which year was it in?
Good question. I should go back to my.
I'm taking you back to your memory
I
lane.
know totally. Like no year wise, I think it was 2002, 2000 no 2001, 2000, 2001.
ओके तो आपने प्लस टू किया दोबारा से उसके
Yes.
बाद क्या हुआ
उसके बाद I went back to psychology पागलों के बारे में पढ़ने के लिए.
फाइनली
Finally ऐसे मैं तो पागल ही हूँ तो मुझे पागलों के बारे में ही पढ़ना है. So I went back and did my psychology marketing in my graduation, which was in Hyderabad.
ओके
It was Nizam College. Um, while I was doing my graduation, I got married. So you can say child marriage. I think that's how it was being told when I got married because I was just 21 when I got married. And I continued studying my last sem after my marriage. And then I did my postgrad, which was through distance because I was married and I had to make sure that I was being a good wife too. And I did my postgrad in MSc psychology, and I had been a therapist, a certified therapist in the beginning of my career. Then obviously जब मैं psychology कर रही थी तो मेरे लिए career opportunities back then in 2002, 2003 in psychology wasn't much. So I took up training and coaching, training and development, and during that time, and I started my first job was into teaching children, and I
वाह
did counseling for children, especially the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th graders. Because back there in Hyderabad, we had this Narayana institutions and all of that, and kids were going through a lot of stress. Actually, that has helped me to decide that अगर मेरे बच्चे होंगे मैं इनको ऐसे स्कूल में कभी नहीं रखूंगी.
Here I would like to share. So I was in Andhra for I think 4.5, 5 years. I have seen, I mean, the college which I was teaching as professor, just beside that. So same college person has this up to plus two level thing. And there, those kids used to study, and just opposite to that, there was Narayana. I have seen those kids studying like day in, day out, and so much of discipline. Like when we go for lunch, they'll be studying. When we go for dinner, they will be studying. सुबह आओ तभी वो पढ़ ही रहे हैं. मुझे लगता था कितना पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं.
So, you are a doctor, Meenu, so I'm sure you know how much you have to study. No offense regarding the Narayana Schools Institute. I'm sure they have a different objective and their impact is different. They have been successful in whatever
Yeah, the
ways that
kids
they
are
are.
topper from there and all that.
Absolutely. But my only point was, does the child need to go through that kind of a stress? Because when I was counseling, I had parents coming and asking me, saying that, मेरे बेटे को 98 आया, 99 क्यों नहीं आया? I was like, are you serious? Are you? I used to be like, Bapre, as I'm so glad my parents weren't like this at all. I remember failing in my ninth. I remember I really failed in my ninth because of a syllabus uh, gaps, right? I was studying in a state board in Hyderabad, I guess, and then I had to move back to Mumbai for a ICSE. So state board to ICSE was like, you're from what in Bangalore. If I have to tell you, I'm at Jagpur and I'm going to Sarjapur. Right.
It's
So
very
it was
hard.
like a very big shift for me as a child. And I really failed. And I remember how my parents had supported me during that time. And they said, it's okay. Fail, you failed. If you have to redo, you redo. If you have to change your school, you change your school. But they never made me feel that, I didn't have that potential or I was not capable of. And that's what I am right now because of that. Those were my days, beginning of my career, beginning also. I was also studying, like I said, I continued studying and working at the same time. Then I think I started working in as a consultant HR, where I was doing recruitment, performance management. I worked for a good 2007. I think I came back to I came to Bangalore in my journey. And that's when I started working in performance management, employee engagement, the OD part of HR responsibilities. And that's when slowly, then I did my MSc Industrial Psychology because I said, okay, that's what probably would add value to what I'm doing. And I did that course back then. And then gradually from consulting roles, I just realized that I had good experience in consulting role for 6 years. It was always the other side of the table where I'm telling HRs what to do, what not to do, and how they should implement certain frameworks and all of that. Then I said, okay, let me also experience corporate side of it, like, be the other side of the table to experience what it takes. And then a corporate experience happened to me, which was the pharma healthcare organization. I think that's where we met. Um, so that's been my career journey till there.
So
Um,
when you were doing, sorry to interrupt, when you did that counseling in Hyderabad, after that, how come the shift to HR? I mean, what was the thought process there?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. I think there's a cut.
Yeah, I was saying, so you were doing counseling in Hyderabad, and then what made you shift to getting into HR?
Uh, I once I done my MSc psychology, that's when I realized I always had this passion of doing clinical psychology, just going back a little more years
Sure,
back,
feel
right?
free. Yeah.
And I always wanted to do clinical psychology. I wanted to do criminal psychology. These were two of my very, very passionate subjects, even now. While I wanted to research about clinical psychology and all of that, how do I do, what do I do, how many years of course, there was a lot of time commitment and there was a lot of work that I had to do before I could get there. And while learning psychology also, I realized how emotionally strong you need to be. Um, and how emotionally you need to look at things working well, right? Uh, Back then, I don't think I was a very strong person, to be honest. I think what I am today is through the journey, what I've lived in my life and what experiences I had in my life is what made me more stronger. And I always say this, it's like my son gave me the life. Like he actually, when he was born, I realized what life means to me. And my daughter gave me how to fight. I think that's where I call her my strength. I think the journeys that I went through as a mother has made me what I am today, to be honest. And so back then, clinical psychology was like, okay, I don't think I'm ready for it. And I didn't do that. And that's when I got into more into, okay, let me do organization development courses, industrial psychology, and get into this because I always wanted to, I had this passion towards people behavior. मुझे बहुत interest होता है, people, I like the way everybody come and say, अच्छा बताओ मेरे शक्ल देख के क्या लगता है मैंने तुम्हारा शक्ल तो बहुत अच्छा लगता है what else can I say but
True.
they like to hear as I see it's a personality trait it's a behavior that I'm
True.
observing and how you behave in different phases in different times is what your personality defines
True.
and that's what psychology does. I'm not sitting and going to tell you ki, yeah, you have bipolar or you have this. That doesn't make sense. I'm not a clinical psychologist. I'm a pure industrial psychologist who can talk about organizational behavior and human behavior under the organizational circumferences, right? So it doesn't really make sense. So yeah, so that's how HR came into play and I moved it to HR.
So you were always wise enough to see what best fits in, at the same time looking forward to the future and thinking, okay, what all are the options which I can try on? And you always had that awareness, okay, maybe I'm not ready yet, or maybe I'm not that strong as a person right now to get into this. That awareness is not something which just comes like that, right? So, and I also hear you say that you were not ready or you were weak at some point in time. However, having your son and having your daughter made a lot of difference, and it has changed or made you stronger. So, when you say that, first of all, I want to hear if you can elaborate a bit. When you say you were weak, as in if you can touch upon maybe one or two belief system which you felt was making you weak, and then what has changed after having kids.
I was always scared to try something new. I
Mm.
used to like doing something new, but वो एक झिझक होती थी, वो एक डर होता था, and the belief system was okay. I've been brought up in a mix of conventional as well as an orthodox family. Okay.
Mm.
My grandparents were quite orthodox, but at the same time they're quite conventional also. So they ensured all the grandchildren study and do, but at the same time, 18 साल से शादी कर लो, शादी कर लो, शादी कर लो, that whole thing.
Mm.
And like I said, I was always into this discipline, responsible, and I think somewhere back of my mind, I had this thing ki I should not do anything wrong. And
Ah.
I was the eldest granddaughter in the family, of course. That was one thing. And I was the first granddaughter after 7 boys in the family.
Mm. Mm.
So, कहीं ना कहीं वो एक प्रेशर आ जाता था कि अगर मैं कुछ गलत कर दूं तो क्या अगर मैं what would people think or what would I don't want anybody to let down my parents or I didn't want anybody to let down my whatever wherever I was coming from.
Mm.
Like I think there was this whole क्या बोलते हैं baggage that I was carrying through and through to be honest and that whole thing of if I'm doing, I have to do. But what always helped me as a child, because I said I was a very introvert in nature. Uh, Again, back then, not anymore.
Mm. Feel free
uh,
to keep moving in timelines. That's
yeah.
fine.
uh, what worked is I used to do a lot of self-reflection. मैं
Mm.
किताबें लिखती थी about myself, literally. Like people would have laughed, or actually, I started laughing when I read it after years. I'm like, फेंक दो इसको जल्दी से, like I didn't want to have this anywhere
But
close.
that is self awareness. I think वो लिखना पेपर में अपने expression डालना is can
Absolutely.
help you.
Absolutely. The self-reflection, what we call today, and I think the mindfulness, what we talk about.
True.
If I go back, that was what has helped me. I
Mm.
always used to write, चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए. In fact, as a kid, no, like when I was like 8, 9, 10, probably, my grandfather, we used to, like, हमारा बहुत joint family वाला connection था. And literally, the value system that I have even now strong is because of my grandparents, I would say that, right? So I used to apparently speak in all international languages. Now, you might be asking, oh, wow, how do you speak in all languages? It was basically bullshit. Okay.
Okay.
But then that was like my childhood memories that with my grandfather. So he used to say, okay, talk in Germany. Then apparently I would just blabber something and then say Germany in between, use certain words in between, which are Germany. And he's like, okay, talk in Chinese. Then I was like, Chin Chin Chan Chung Wala. Literally. So somewhere that was like, I was like, oh my God, how ridiculous that could have been. But and I was glad that my grandparents spent time to listen to that crap, literally. Because I mean, honestly, now if my daughter comes and tells me I'm going to do this, I keep telling her, shush, stop it. I have better things to do. I literally tell her that, which is so
True.
sad, which is so, I feel bad about it. But
Mm.
I'm sometimes helpless because I'm so committed to other things. I'm like, but
Yes.
then if I go back, my grandparents had that listening for me. So one, self-reflection. Second, somebody to be heard, right? Like I was always being heard, no matter what I was talking or no matter what I was doing. Third, always when I did reflection and shared, I had people who were mentoring me. My chacha, my father, my tauji. I think these three men in my life has completely, strengthened my belief system, strengthened my confidence of what I can do in life.
Awesome.
And they've boosted me. They literally मेरे को boost करते रहते हैं, अरे सौजन्य है ना वो कर लेगी,
Uh,
literally like that. So that boosts your confidence. Okay, they
Certainly.
think that I can do it. Why not? Let me try.
Mhm.
So that, so when I was doing all these, I think these are three big practices in life that I would have carried out, saying that, do I do self-reflection to make my decisions, to know where I am and have my self-awareness? Like I told you in the beginning, right? I do things which I'm passionate about.
Mm.
I do things where I find purpose.
Mm.
Otherwise, I don't do it. You will see me sitting in one cafe, not even talking to a single person probably in the whole day. Because if I don't find purpose, I don't. And that's absolutely fine. What I like to tell people is, agar you mindfully you know that today is not a day of expression, please don't express. It's absolutely fine. The whole feeling of no, 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 you have to share, doesn't really work. You need to balance that as well. There are times that you love to share, you want to talk about it. There are times that you don't want to share. You just want to keep it to yourself, absorb it and reflect upon it. And you are a better judge.
Yes.
Nobody can judge you. I mean,
Mm.
I tell this day in, day out to my children, Mama, ye theek hai, Mama. I said, मेरे को नहीं पूछो. You ask yourself.
Mm.
I'm just a source. I am a source for you to get you into the life today. I am a source for you to make sure you become a good human being.
Mm.
But I am not somebody who's going to say what you're supposed to do in life.
Mm.
Each one of us have entered into a life for that particular purpose. वो
Yes.
खत्म करके ही जाएगा. वो चाहे कितना भी खराब हो, अच्छा हो, या just life that you want to lead and go. Right? So that is very important. And obviously, to an extent, I read this book about one soul, many bodies. That has transformed me to a different level of mindset. I would definitely say that again and again, and I keep telling this to a lot of people. the whole concept of what is life, why we are doing this, the purpose wala thing has actually come to me through this book, to be honest. And that's when I realized, I came out of that whole filter of log kya sochenge, zamana kya sochega, am I doing it right, am I doing it wrong, am I putting that image up? That worked for me.
Awesome. So if someone has to do self-reflection or someone has to practice self-reflection as of today, I'm sure जब आप बचपन में लिखते थे तो बहुत ही different सा format हो गया, but today being an adult and responsible and aware adult, you must be having a way to write. So can you, I mean, enlighten our listeners if anybody would want to start practicing self-reflection? What exactly, like one or two tips you can give which they can start with?
Before I can give a tip, I just want to remove a myth of
Mm-hmm.
self-reflection, right?
Sure.
Everybody says, yeah, yeah, I do self-reflection, and then they just say that, okay, they reflect about how did their day go,
Mm.
what is their planning for tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
This is what people assume is self-reflection. Honestly, that's not self-reflection.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a rewind button and
Right.
a forward button. Okay, you
Very
are just
true.
reminding क्या हुआ, you're forwarding कि क्या होने वाला है.
Correct.
That's not important. What is important is being in the presence of mind.
Hmm.
So I'll just tell you my practice.
Yes,
I
feel
don't
free,
know if it's the
please.
best tip or it's the bad tip. People can try and say it. I would be
Mm-hmm.
happy to connect back to them and say, okay, did this work for you? Did this not work for you? Why it didn't work for you? So that I can learn from them too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, under self-reflection, what I do is I talk about what was my feeling for the day, right? How was my feeling changing? Maybe I was happy, then I was upset, I was there, right? And I close my self reflection about what has happened, what feeling I went through was just a feeling.
Mm, that's important.
It is, you can't take away anything, you can't carry forward anything, right? You need to drop it. I close my self reflection saying that, okay, today probably I had a very bad day, disappointment, mood swings. I'm a PCOD tagged. So obviously I have a lot of mood swings. So I like, okay, आज क्या हुआ था? I had mood swings. This is because of my hormonal changes, which led to maybe screaming at my children, not willing to work on certain project, didn't want to cook dinner tonight, things like that. So I go a little deeper, understanding what was the source.
Mm-hmm.
Was it my external thing? Because we react only based on our feelings. We don't look at the internal source. So
True.
when you sit quietly for 10-15 minutes, this is something that I've learned through kind of a couple of mindful sessions also. I sit through for 10-15 minutes in a complete silence and understand how my day has gone through, what are the different feelings that I had, how are the different emotions I went through, what kind of reactions I had taken during those emotions. And I just say, so be it,
Mm-hmm.
because that's past. It's gone. I can't do anything about it. So once I end it, then I have an affirmation. What is it that I'm being and what I want to do? And that
Mm-hmm.
affirmation is for the present. Affirmation cannot be, अच्छा मैं कल तक running करने चले जाऊंगी. That can't be affirmation, right?
Right.
So the whole affirmation of what I'm being and what I'm going to be right now.
Mm. How do you change or transition from what you are feeling now and the
Absolutely.
very
What I
next
was
moment?
feeling to what I'm feeling now. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And that would lead you to a different space where you want to do what you can. And a lot of things clear off your mind, your heart. And that whole heaviness that we have, right? Simple arguments that you do with your spouse or argument might be most dumbest when you just go back and reflect, like, seriously?
इतनी छोटी सी बात पे इतना
Yeah,
डिस्कशन.
like why waste so much of energy and time? I would have rather probably finished a Netflix series by then, right? I mean, why am I wasting time of that, right?
So
So
tip for the audience is if you want to watch one more, then do self-reflection, finish it off, and then go and watch.
yeah, enjoy yourself. Just be in the present. There's nothing that's going to be carried forward to you, right? I mean, it
Yes.
is our feeling that we are carrying forward.
Mm-hmm.
इमोशन खत्म हो जाता है, सिचुएशंस खत्म हो जाते हैं, रिएक्शंस खत्म हो जाते हैं, बट हम हमारे फीलिंग्स को ऐसे बैग में डाल डाल के लेके जाते हैं, एंड दैट्स वेयर यू फील लाइक ओ यू नो व्हाट, आई डोंट स्पीक टू माय स्पाउस, आई डोंट स्पीक टू माय इन लॉज.
Mm-hmm.
क्यों भाई, व्हाई?
वही है ना, दिन खत्म हो जाता है बट वो फीलिंग्स का बैग हम कैरी करते रहते हैं, देन वी फील कि लाइफ इज टू टफ, इट इज सो कॉम्प्लिकेटेड, रिलेशंस आर कॉम्प्लिकेटेड.
I'm so stressed. I'm so I like this word from all this new generation saying that
Gen Z.
I'm scared about my well-being. I'm like, really?
See, not, I mean, I would say that those who are feeling that probably they did not have that kind of environment, or they are not self-aware, as you said. If they start practicing these things, maybe that the scarcity mindset or that fear might go. So those who are saying that, either obviously, as you said, they are not able to diagnose that, okay, what is it, or they're just saying because it's a cool word,
Yeah.
or they are not having awareness of what can we do about it or how to handle it.
Honestly, I don't blame any of the millenniums. Honestly,
Mm,
because I'll tell you
mm,
why. It is our fault. And when I say our fault, it's the Gen Y's fault.
mm,
Because as a parent, because we had gone through so much of critical feedback and so much of do's and don'ts in our life, there was a complete different parenting style for the millennium by the Gen Y, right?
true.
Said that they're like, acha, everything you will be like, oh, like your daughter or a son is bringing you a glass of water. Oh, thank you so much for getting me. Are glass of water hi hai bhai. Why do you have to make it such a big appreciation? I
Mm, mm,
understand there's a difference between giving gratitude, being grateful, and
mm,
being appreciative.
mm,
Right?
mm.
So हम इतना बच्चों को appreciate कर चुके हैं life में that when this kid goes to a college or goes to a office the first time and they get a feedback saying ये project बकवास था, they can't take it.
Yes.
Literally can't take it.
Mm,
The
mm.
college guy who's going, they're committing suicide because they can't take this kind of a feedback at all. So my whole point is it's not about the generations, it's not about the millenniums. I would still blame parenting. कल के दिन अगर मेरे बच्चे भी ऐसे खराब करेंगे तो I would blame myself. Because
Mm.
for me, as if that means I could not provide them that kind of an awareness or an opportunity for them to develop in such pattern that they are able to take anything that comes their way. And I'm not saying every child is different, every individual is different according to me. What
Mm.
I would think, you wouldn't think the same way. Your
True.
belief systems are different, my belief systems are different. Your upbringing is different, my upbringing is different. But there is nothing said that you can't be adaptable. There's
Mm.
nowhere saying that, you can't understand what is needed to be done at that moment. That's what is important, according to me.
I mean, so true. They are deficient of vitamin no. They've not heard no, so जब सुनना चाहिए था तब नहीं सुना बचपन में कि अच्छा दे दो जो हमें नहीं मिला हमारे बच्चों को मिले, एंड दैट मेड देम थिंक कि अच्छा मैं जो सोचूं वो हो जाता है, एंड जब वो नहीं होता है दे ग्रो अप देन दे रियली डोंट नो हाउ टू हैंडल बिकॉज दे हैव नॉट बीन told or I
Yeah.
would say taught. So
Thought.
what you're saying is so right. Anyway, so thank you so much, first of all, for such big insight. I'm very glad that we are having this conversation. When you got your son and daughter, I mean, in your life, what made you stronger? As you said, right? You
Yeah.
felt that strength within you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I delivered my son when I was 25.
Okay.
That was like very young age, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoyed entire maternity.
Mm-hmm.
Touch wood, I never had a problem with my maternity period as well. So I had a very peaceful 9 months. Of course, I had put on 3 times X
Wait.
because I was just getting pampered of everybody and everyone.
Mm.
And um, so when my son was born, he was the most, like, I think it was just like a blessing, to be honest, like for me, because he was most quietest kid that anybody would have felt. किसी को पता ही नहीं था कि मेरे घर में बच्चा था.
Mm. Mm.
Like that. Never cried too much, never made a fuss, or never made anything. So, so I delivered my son in Hyderabad, and then I came back to Bangalore because I was being there. But like I said, early, एक चीज पॉजिटिव है कि तुम्हारा सब कुछ जल्दी जल्दी हो गया साल में. But at the same time, the support system from your parents was a little low, which my mom, Bichari, she still feels कि oh मैंने कुछ नहीं किया तेरे लिए. I said that's okay. I mean, I lived the way I wanted to. So because
Mm.
we couldn't move because of my father's work and stuff, of course. And so I got my son and I lived alone with my husband in Bangalore. And I managed everything from day one.
Mm.
Right? I bought him when he was like 4 months, I guess. But everything. मैं उसके साथ walking पे लेके चले जाती थी. मैं stroller में 5 किलोमीटर चल लेती थी. Putting him in the stroller. That's what's like. He was
Mm.
never a child कि stroller से बाहर निकल रहा है, चढ़ रहा है. When people tell me all this, I said, okay, I never experienced this in life. He taught me a lot of balance.
Mm.
Right? I tell this because also he's born on a Gandhi Jayanti. So I said, शायद गांधी का पूरा peace is in this kid, right? And obviously, the first year I didn't work for both my maternity, post my maternity, my children. The first year I avoided to work. I
Mm.
paused my career. But then, you go through a lot of changes as a mother. I would
Mm.
say mood swings, you're frustrated, you want something, you don't want something. I think my son was there throughout. More than my
Mm.
husband, I would say my son was there with me. I'm being very candid and honest here. There were
Mm.
times that I used to feel like crying. There were times that I didn't want to do anything and, like cranky. I remember a 1 year old coming to me, hugging me tight and saying, Mama, I'm there.
How
Just
sweet.
that statement has always made me, yeah, this is
Mm.
something that you are living because of the soul that you got into life, right? So my whole purpose of life that I said, कि ये मेरा life है, I call him you're my life, is because there was this also a fear. Obviously, post maternity, post pregnancy, you go through that phase, right? I had a fear that I would die one day. ये एक मेरा
Okay.
दिल, it was always uh, obviously it's a psychological issue, of course, and this thing कि मैं चल रही हूँ, I'm fallen, I'm crashed, and I see my son crying.
Mm.
I had this emotion for almost 6 to 8 months, if I remember.
Mm.
वो एक डर बैठ गया था कि भाई हो क्या रहा है. That
Mm.
whole that fear was something even now kills me too. I mean, it just makes me go very low, right?
Mm.
So with that whole fear, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know whom to share about it. मैं बोलती थी तो मेरे like my mom or my in-laws like सपना देख रही है, thinking too much, overthinking.
Mm.
Possibly I was overthinking, but then I had because thanks to my psychology, I realized what's happening to me.
Mm.
And when I started reflecting, I said, okay, that's because I started having a responsibility now, right? Because
Mm.
I know that कल के दिन मुझे कुछ हो जाएगा, this one whom I got into this life is going to be the only one who will miss me.
Mm.
Baki, see, everybody else will move on. right?
Mm.
That baby needs your attention at that point.
True.
And that made me realize how important a life is. That
Mm.
made me realize how important I need to be uh, healthy, I need to be mindful, I need to be stronger just to ensure that I'm able to give the life that my child has come here for. And that was just it. वहां से जो take off मैंने लिया. I think that's where it is. And uh, my son is somebody, like I said, he's very balanced and he comes with a lot of compassion and empathy. When you
Mm.
interact with him now also, I keep telling him those are his strengths. And I keep saying that you need to build on your strengths because it's very,
Mm.
very difficult to find a person with that kind of compassion and empathy that you're able to share. And I'm glad that he's able to continue with it, right? Even now, like when my mood is off, especially, PMS chalta hai, so it's a very terrible phase for all the
Mm.
women.
Mm.
Um, he is one person who will come and say, I know what you're going through. Take your time off.
Mm.
Like literally, he tells you, take your time off. And
Mm.
it's sometimes very nice to see and also sad कि वो मेरे बेटी को जाके बोलता है don't trouble her, she's not in a good mood because
Mm.
she is my naughty one, she needs all my energy and my attention, right? So मेरा वो mood आते ही he'll say Haso, not today,
Mm.
not now, she
Mm.
needs some time, give her that time, she'll be back.
Mm.
And that understanding with this between the brother and sister is so pure and so wonderful. Like I keep telling my daughter, I said, you listen to your brother more than you listen to your parents. She actually does. For her, it's her brother is a father figure. मतलब उसने कुछ
That's
बोल
a
दिया,
great thing. हाँ ये तो
उसने
बहुत
कुछ भी
अच्छी बात है.
बोल दिया कर दिया तो बस it's like लकीर बन गया वहां पे, right? So
Mm. Mm.
so that's how I think my age has gone through with my son being in my life, and I'm blessed. I'm completely blessed, and I kept telling this, and probably that was my strongest affirmation in my life. And I said that okay, this is my soul and this is my life. He's given me what it means.
Awesome. I'm having goosebumps when I was hearing it, and that clearly shows your own parenting style, right? We did touch upon a bit of parenting, and the way you're explaining about how your son consoles you or takes care of you, and he also tells his sister कि अच्छा ये करो या ये नहीं करो. That itself shows that being a parent, you have done your part well, and that's what at least being parent, all of us crave to do that कि हम एक अच्छा इंसान बना सके या हम maybe it's not the materialistic thing, but it's about how you shape them as a good human being. And you had been doing that part very well. So kudos to you for that.
Thank you. Trying. I'm completely trying.
Yes, yes. Super, super glad. Okay. So I understood now when you were talking about that, how you were weak, and now after having your son, how it made you stronger. It gave you that stronger sense of purpose of you being on this planet. Okay. You have to do all this for this soul and make this person's life worth living and so on. So you said you were in HR. I'll just take you to the professional journey once again. And then you joined a corporate life because you wanted to enjoy it. Okay, after that, what happens?
Before corporate, I had my second daughter, the
Yes,
second
yes.
sibling as well. So
Yes, please.
by the time I got my second one, I think uh, I was more confident. I was more
Hmm.
independent.
Hmm.
Like I said, my daughter has given me that entire strength, like, a
Hmm.
fighter wala thing. When I say if I'm able to fight on anything right now, it's because what I see in her.
Hmm.
When the way she and I sometimes when she says, Mama, I can't do, I said, no, don't fall down because I always look at you and do what I'm doing. So,
Hmm.
that's what it means to me for her.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so corporate life has been very, very good. I think for me, initially only it was very easy, I would say, because I think by then I was a different person, willing to do, explore, and I've always loved to explore and learn something new. And for me, it was never like, अच्छा मेरे इतने साल का experience है, I should be an XYZ designation. I should earn one, two, three numbers. I never had that as a person itself. That does not mean I am not a career oriented person. I'm completely career oriented person, but I always looked at what is it for me in it, which I think is very important for any one of us to go through, right? Uh, I used to always look at, अच्छा ठीक है अगर मैं ये करूँगी मेरे लिए क्या होगा? Am I going to learn
Mm.
something new? Am I going to give something back to the organization? So I still remember, which of course my ex-HR head keeps reminding me also, that in my last interview in that corporate, I told her, she said, okay, you've come back from Canada. Don't you think you're going to go back to Canada whenever you want to because you have the opportunity to go back and settle down? I said, I came back from Canada because I wanted to be in India. I never wanted to stay abroad, to be honest. I mean, I always loved to go study there as a child, but I never wanted to settle down in abroad. And for me, abhi mujhe leke jaoge, I'll tell you, let's go holiday and come back. I will not
Mm.
go and settle down. Not that I can't. It's just that वो soul connect नहीं हो रहा है मेरे साथ,
Mm.
right? So I came back for a purpose that I'm going to stay back in India. That is me. And I said, I'm at least committed for 5 years.
Mm.
Then I remember she asking me, why 5 years? What is the number that it is? I
Mm.
said,
Mm.
see, 5 years is for me to prove myself in the organization. 5 years for me to learn what I can learn from the organization. After 5 years, I want to ask the organization, do they see value in what I'm doing? Do they think I can grow in this organization? After 5 years, I would like to reflect and say that what else can I do? And the day I feel that I cannot add value in this organization is the day I will leave. And coincidentally, I kept up to that word.
5 years.
So she's like, oh yeah, I remembered you wanted to leave after 5 years, so you're leaving. I said, no. I said, that was a coincidence. That was my interview conversation, right? Of course, I did make sense when I spoke about it, but I didn't intend कि 5 साल होते ही मैं contract sign करके निकल जाऊंगी. I don't think that was my intention at all. I mean, absolutely no. So yeah, so I think my corporate stint was like good 5 years, direct corporate stint, I would say. Before that, as a
Mm.
consultant, of course, I worked in other corporates.
Okay, I hear you. You mentioned that you went to Canada also. When did that happen?
Sorry, I cannot hear you, Meenu. Could you repeat that for me?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I hear you say that your HR asked, would you not want to go back to Canada? When did you go to Canada and for how long?
So this was a 1.5 year stint for me, and my husband was staying there for, I think, approximately 1.5, 2 years, just 3 months prior to me moving there. This was for his work. So again, like my father took me to places, my husband also took me to places for his job. And I think I never said no, but after both my kids born, I said, hey, I am settling in Bangalore. You guys can travel wherever you want. So
The
that's
mother
how,
instinct.
yeah, the mother instinct and saying that I've gone through, whatever I had gone through, I'm not interested anymore. Not that I don't love traveling. I love traveling, but I'm just tired of settling down in places, I guess. So, yeah, I think so 2010, 11, 12, that was the period. And like I said, that was the period that has transformed me to be a more stronger woman.
Mm.
My husband had to work for a client there through IBM, and he had no time to sleep, no time to eat, kind of a work in Canada. I was so the day he was flying was the day we knew that I conceived for the second time.
Mm.
And there was no choice for him to stay back. Of course, he had to go. And I had a 2-year-old and I conceived. And I didn't know if I can tell this to my son because he's just 2 year old. Uh, and there were so many things that we had to do, like a lot of paperwork that I had to do for me to travel. shifting house, closing out Bangalore because we were in Bangalore. Um, so I did everything all by myself. Everything.
There comes the fighting spirit. Now I got it.
Yeah. So,
Awesome.
I remember how I had to manage being pregnant, going through vomitings in the morning, sickness, to holding my son because he wanted to be carried, because he's missing his father. He's going through that emotional trauma. My dad left me and went, and he's seeing all his furniture, toys, everything getting away from him. So he was like, I can't leave you. I don't want to lose you. And as I said, he is a little emotional child. So, that was very, very tr traumatic for him at that point, at his age. Then I think my visa got cancelled,
Oh.
rejected rather, and I was like super upset. I was like, I am pregnant. I have a baby in my belly, and I'm having a son who's being cranky because of a lot of things that he's been missing. And I want to go and reunion with my husband, and this is what I get, right? After like good 2 months. Then we said, okay, let me try again. And we tried again, and by the time I got my visa, I was almost like 6 months pregnant. So till then, I was completely managing mental health about my son and myself there. Of course, I was with my parents and they were supporting me, but the fact is, certain things you can't share or can't express what you are going through because you don't want them to, get worried about. That was the only intention there. And um, so 5 months pregnant, first time out of India, traveling, carrying a kid, uh, uh, carrying his teddy bear, which was equivalent to my height. Uh, I I traveled for a good 14 hours flight with that kid. And trust me, he didn't trouble me once. 14 hours, this kid, I still remember. I just got him some color pencils and some rhymes that he liked always. And I got him some movie downloaded. He was just there. No crankiness, no feeling, oh ma, how long are we getting down? I don't think nothing. I mean, he just made it such a peaceful journey for me. And I had to sit with a swollen leg, of course, because of my pregnancy. Now, what made me a stronger fighter is once I reached there, I realized that there were so many processes in Canada that I had to do, and nobody has told me, informed me about it. Honestly, Meenu, I think that 1 year I spent, I learned everything by myself, every single thing, right? I mean, knowing which flat do I pick, knowing how do I work. A surprising story was by the time I settled in a flat, I was like almost six and a half, kind of, I mean, almost reaching the third trimester. So in Canada, what happens is, which is an information now open to all probably, that you have to have a walk-in clinic registered. And the walk-in clinic would recommend hospitals for your delivery. That's how any process happens. You can't walk into a hospital unless and until there's an emergency, but through your walk-in clinic and a walk-in doctor. Now, ये जो information था मुझे मिला ही नहीं. After I found a house, I said, अच्छा ये भी करना था. And when I went to a walk-in, they said, you're in almost your third trimester. We don't know which hospital will agree for your delivery. I was like, whoa, okay. I said, can you please try? Because बच्चा तो मेरे पेट में रहने वाला नहीं है. बच्चा तो बाहर निकलेगा ही.
सही
कैसे
बात.
भी निकलेगा. मैं कहाँ निकालूं वो मुझे बता दो. Literally. So
Yeah.
I remember the walk-in clinic doctor called me once and she said, hey, listen, I'm not getting any hospitals. Can you also call up hospitals and check from your end? literally to an unknown country. I was sitting and calling all the hospital names through Google that I found. And there were midwives there. We had midwives also. And apparently, by your 6th month, you should have a midwife or a hospital doctor. Otherwise, it's very difficult. They get very committed. सोने पे सुहागा ये था कि मेरा ड्यू December 25th था, which was a
Oh my
Christmas.
God.
Christmas holidays. Most of them loved Christmas and they had to go there, right? So I was like, hello, I have to deliver a baby for sure. I didn't know how to deliver a baby. And so I think that whole phase, luckily, I got a very good hospital in Canada, which is Sunnybrook Hospital, one of the best hospitals, which was very close to where we were staying. And so I was very excited. चलो चलो ठीक है, डॉक्टर मिल गया. मेरा एक स्कैन बाकी था and all of that. And I used to go to scan. Used to go to Indian stores. I used to go everywhere, only with my son in a trolley and myself. I literally lived a single mom life for that few months, right? So doctor के पास जाती हूँ. And doctor is very sweet. I mean, she was a Canadian and she was like amazingly, very concerned, like, oh, I don't have a problem and all of that. I said, अच्छा ठीक है, चलो मिल गया कोई. And then I see a bump in her too. And that was her first pregnancy. I was like, wow, this is really nice. My doctor is also going to deliver. And then she says, but my due date is before yours.
Oh my God.
I was like, यार क्या मतलब भगवान
क्या रहा
मेरे
है?
लिए क्या कर रहा है? Like literally I was like completely
Oh
lost.
my God.
Now you know where the fighter role had come, right? Like total journey that I was going through. I said, अच्छा तो मेरा क्या होगा? ये तो बताओ. And he said, no, there'll be some doctor for sure who will help you out.
Oh
So
God.
she delivered her baby on December 5th, if I'm not wrong. And before that, she spoke to me and she said, hey, listen, you can, because C-section hai, and वहाँ पे you don't have papers, then they will do a C-section. Otherwise, they would have told me to do a normal delivery. So I said, okay, let's do a C-section, because for me, my important focus was I need to take care of this my son. Normal करके कुछ गड़बड़ होगा, then I don't know who's going to take care of my kid. Right? So for me, I said, listen, I don't really care C-section, normal, whatever it is. I want to have a good delivery so that the next day onwards, I can really take care of my kids by myself, because I don't have a support system, right? And that's what exactly happened. I had a C-section, so we had to decide the date, of course, between 11th to 20th. She said, pick one date. And वो भी बहुत randomly हमने pick किया. Only thing is, 15 December is my wedding anniversary. So my husband was like, 15 December. I said, no. मैंने जो गलती किया life में, I want to celebrate that too. So I don't want that importance to be given to my daughter, but I will have a next day was a Friday. 16 December was a Friday. I said, let's do Friday so that वो paternity leave भी करके हो सकता है. So that's how 16 December actually happened. Many of us asked, दीदी देखे हो क्या, स्टार देखे हो क्या? सर कुछ नहीं. We just looked at very practically. Friday होगा तो Saturday, Sunday he can add on to his paternity leave and they can have more leaves. So my mom had come for the delivery, but because it was winter and she had to go back soon, she was there for 45 days, I think, after my delivery, and then she left after that. But from day two, I was getting up, walking around, getting her ready, getting my daughter, give her bath, all of that. And I think I remember so much कि मैं उसको, नहला के धुला के, I used to keep her in the room, put her to bed and tell my son, watch your sister, I'm going down for laundry. So I used to go to the basement, do the laundry, come back up just to make sure both are safe. I think if Canada government hears me that I used to leave my two children in the house and lock them up in a flat of the 26th floor, they would sue me probably. But I had no other choice. I
Yeah.
seriously had no other choice. I had to do it in that way, and I'm glad that it has helped my both my children upbringing, right? My
Mm.
son is so responsible. I travel now for work, and I know that is one of my, like, if I tell my son ye karna hai, he does it. And my daughter is in the same journey.
Mm.
I remember when she was 2, 3 years, and I was working in the corporate. I used to cook everything and put it on the table, and I used to tell, okay, okay, agar jab caretaker aayegi, make sure she's cutting these vegetables. She has to do this. Literally, a 2-year-old, she used to hold one finger ithusa, and she's like, Auntie, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. Amma said, you have to finish this. And she used to make sure that the person does it.
Mm.
So her managerial skills for me, according to me, is very good. Right?
Certainly.
So I'm like, she does it. And I so remember she used to stand down in that independent house, nature khade hoke, with safety, right? When we came back, I think we came back to India in 2012. She was born in 2011 December, in 2012 August September types we came back. Um, since then she's been very dependent on her brother. Uske liye
Mm.
karta dharta, I think they can live together. They already have plans ki once they cross 20 they want to take a flat, they both want to stay together, they'll come here to eat food and all of that. I said, wow. I don't know how to react to that now. So that way, the whole Canada instinct happened. And not that I didn't enjoy, I did enjoy. I traveled everywhere with these two kids. I took them to places wherever I could. And I did all solo traveling wahan pe, with two kids. I don't know if that's considered as solo again.
I think all that made both of them very close to each other and more stronger and independent. So when you said earlier, I was amazed at how both of them have such bonding, but now I can understand where that bonding is coming from. So that's again going to the circumstances. Whatever circumstances you have, either you make best out of it or you just keep sitting and crying about it. Arey, वैसा हो गया, वैसा हो गया.
Yeah.
So when today you're saying that you are a fighter or that those incidents made you a fighter, that made you stronger instead of getting weaker and sulking in yourself, कि अरे मैं तो अकेली हूँ, मैं कैसे करूँ and all that stuff, right?
I think that I give back to my grandparents and my uncles that I kept talking about, right?
Hmm.
These people in my life have always inspired me of doing what I'm supposed to be doing. That
Hmm.
letting myself go down was never a scene in my life. Yes, I was emotionally weak, but then that whole give up wala mode tha hi nahi. Try karo. You might fail, you might really screw up things, but try. I think, and that's one thing that I keep inheriting in my children right now.
That's amazing. I'm very glad that I'm listening to all this and today, I mean, I knew it before, but I knew you before, but today I'm really getting to know you as a person. So that's amazing to know what all you've gone through and how it made you stronger. It's thank you so much for sharing these insights. Okay, I want to bring you back to 5 years you left. I mean, somehow it happened. You had to leave. What was it? Would you like to share that journey?
So, I have always been, connected to child development and, growth and opportunities, and I've always been a social service volunteer for a different projects and different engagement. मुझे not just when I was in corporate, but even when I was in my 10th, 11th, whatever, 9, मैं ट्यूशंस लेती थी to all my caretakers and maids children. मैं उनको बिठा के पढ़ाती थी, right? And also a story that my cousin brother who keeps telling my kids, does your mom really be very strict when she's teaching you guys also, because she was very strict when she was teaching me. So my children are like, you used to teach, मतलब you're not that anymore, right? For them that is a different. So, so I have always been connected with children, their education, their growth, their development. That was my core thing. And somewhere I would like to give a credit to the school that I had picked for my children as well. This is back in 2013, 14. They were going to an Waldorf education school, which is an alternative schooling, and it focused completely on the child development and what is the need of child development and growth opportunities in different meaning. Now, when I read those books and when I was as a parent going through that, that has attracted me more towards my passion and interest of how important it is and what is the age group that you need to focus on while you're focusing. So बहुत volunteer किया with the schools, with you know, with my children's schools also. Um, and यहाँ पे there were two things happening, right? As I said, I always self-reflect कि क्या चल रहा है. So when I was realizing that my 5 years is obviously there, it's happening, but there is also this whole thing of what am I giving back to the organization? There was a stagnance in what I was performing and what I'm doing, and I was not able to get out of that whole thing to grow, right? And second is, was it something that I was learning in the organization? I did not get probably what I wanted to get in terms of exploring in my growth opportunity. Being said that, I was planning to move out, but I didn't want to move out to other corporate or do something different. And I said, hey, how about doing complete shift to what I've been doing? And enabling leadership happened. And I'm so grateful and so glad that I was selected because honestly, with the kind of experience and different industries that I'm coming from, I didn't know. I was not clear. And when you talk about growth, everybody talks about अच्छा ठीक है HR से तुम क्या बने? What is a designation? Or you talk about अच्छा तुम आज Infosys में हो, कल क्या तुम IBM जा रहे हो या तुम Cognizant जा रहे हो? Like all of these things is a growth is what people define, right? For me, I defined the role that I was doing. I only looked at what is it different things that I would be doing if I'm going to join this organization. That is where I decided, saying that okay, this is where it is. And like I always told all my ex-organization leadership team, when they said, Saujanya, how can you decide that you're leaving? I got these. I really, honestly, I've learned a lot from the leadership team of my previous organization, and I'm still connected to them. I'm happy to be connected to them because they are my mentors. Everybody who's been in my journey, I call them my mentors. So then they said, I said, when I reflected, when I did my self-reflection, मुझे एक ही चीज समझ में नहीं आ रहा था कि मैं क्या कर रही हूँ लाइफ में. What is it that I'm doing this for? Was it money? I don't think money is important factor for my life. It's never been an important factor for my life. मैंने बच्चों को भी यही सिखाया कि अगर 100 रुपए मिलता है उसमें आप 20 रुपए सेव कर सकते हो तो बाकी के पैसे से आप मौज उड़ाओ. Because life is only today, right? So and live with what you have, because I purely believe in lifestyle, right? It depends on what lifestyle you're leading. I can probably take you to America for a holiday, but is it a need for me? Is it something that you really want to see? तुम्हारा पूरा जिंदगी है यार, तुम बच्चे हो, right? Not that my parents didn't take me out. I do take my children out too. But I take to the places where I don't think they would want to explore at the age of 20s and 30s. Yeah. Bring them back to ground. Take them to most earthy nature. They have lived in bricks. They have lived in 5-star also. So I've taken them through that journey for them to know what is it. They've been comfortable using washrooms in a petrol bunk. They've been comfortable doing it in a 5-star as well, right? So when I was thinking about my own career, so kar kya rahi hu? Like what am I doing? Is it financial? Is it designation? Is it position? Is it role? And then I said, अच्छा ठीक है चलो अगर मैं role भी बोल लेती and I'm wanting to grow, I realized the corporate world is such that I this is the response I gave my leaders also. So I'm going to give this back to all of you. For me in corporate, what I felt is I would be running on a treadmill, right? Which is inclining, elevating, but you're still running in the same place. You're not going anywhere. But when I wanted to explore this, I realized that I'll be walking in a forest.
Awesome. We'll say it
Uncertain.
again.
So I said, like, when you're working in corporates, you're actually running in a treadmill where you would grow, but you are staying in the same place. You're just elevating your levels up, right? But when you're walking in a forest, you don't know what's going to come towards you. There is a lot of uncertainty, but there is a lot of experience that you bring in, right? So that's exactly why enabling leadership happened to me. And that role has defined it and it's given me that. I mean, today, if I have to talk, I'm going to complete 3 years in enabling leadership. And if I have to talk about it, I said, I've done everything. You tell me what I haven't done as an HR, or you tell me what I've not done as an employee of an organization. I've done everything. But I enjoyed every bit of it because it was a package of surprises. It was a package that I knew what is going to happen. And it's an experience that I would have loved to live with. And that whole contentfulness and satisfaction, right, at the end of the day, that matters. I sleep peacefully. I don't wake up with the fact that, oh shit, I forgot to send this email.
That's the story of, as you said, many corporates.
I don't know. Maybe it is for others as well. But my fact is, for me, when I choose this role, I just wanted that in my life. Like I said, I'm a person who loves balance. And I'm not saying corporate will not give you balance. Balance is here. That is true. That balance is not changing. And I admire this from one of my leader mentor saying that, balance is what you think is balances, right? For
So true.
somebody, my balance might be I work 10 hours, watch a movie for an hour, have dinner with family, and sleep. For others, their balance is okay, I work for 5 hours. I want to go, cycling, I want to go Zumba, whatever. And then I come back, have my family time, and go early to bed to sleep. So that it depends. Balance definitely depends. But what I'm doing right now, I think I'm just enjoying it, right? And I so remember telling this to my current boss, saying that, hey, I'm so happy that I'm connected because it gave me purpose to what I like in my career, as well as it gave me purpose to what I always wanted to do with the children. So it struck that both together, and I said, okay, this is what exactly it is. And when you say that, I told him that, the day you think that my job is not a requirement anymore, you're going to tell me that very openly. And I'm be happy to move out of it because I know what kind of an industry, social sector it is. But trust me, you can't move me out of this whole organization that I'm connected to. And I think that lies a bit with all my previous organizations also. I'm still connected to a lot of them in that way.
So actually, I wanted to find this answer, like what made you take that decision from a corporate life, which is kind of settled and you have two kids. I mean, kind of good. However, when you said that, okay, you are not finding the purpose and you're just running at the same place with more and more intensity, and you are some kind of person who likes to explore things and also have this self-reflection always, am I adding any value? And the day you get that, okay, I'm not adding any value, then you start looking out, okay, what else should I do, and what your new organization has given you. So I think there wasn't much thought in your mind when you shifted, right?
See, there were quite a bit of personal challenges, of course, because I had to cut down my financials because hey, I'm not going to get paid like corporates pay me.
Yes, yes.
I had to cut down on my designations and role because
Mm.
I had to really start doing like a operations person or a, like a junior from where I'm doing documentation to everything, where I had a team in my previous organization, right? So going back to an individual contributor from being a people manager, of course there were these lot of uh, discussions, I would say. Um, and I just booked a flat in Bangalore, and I'm sure people who are in Bangalore would know how expensive flats are in Bangalore. So I had just committed financially for EMIs through my life, of course, now. So I didn't know if that was the right decision. I didn't know because two children, school education, again, school education is equally expensive. So these were my larger commitments in life, where I had to really think through and say that, am I doing what I'm doing? And at the same time, I knew I was getting a salary cut, but I had to be mentally prepared that next 3 years I will be having the same salary. It's not it's not just the cut at the beginning, right? It is not a corporate that will give you 15%, 8%, 20%, 35%. No, it won't. So am I ready for it? When I say I talk about my partner as well in this conversation, right? So we had a lot of discussions before saying yes, before taking the decision, because it wasn't easy at all. I was telling my husband, अच्छा ठीक है अगर मैं इतना ही कमाऊंगी अगले 3 साल तक, will you be able to support? Because I had to know, because what if things happen differently? Then I don't know. Then maybe I can't take up this job, right? um, then I had to discuss saying that अच्छा स्कूल अभी हर साल तो 10%, कंपनी 10% इंक्रीज करे या ना करे, स्कूल तो इंक्रीज करता ही है, right? I don't still understand that concept, but I'm like, then what do we do? Like, what are the other options? I also had this whole thought of getting into a consulting mode, because I had two options, like either work with this NGO or get into a consulting mode, because I just really realized that maybe corporate was my whole treadmill story came back to me. And so spoke to a couple of my mentors, and spoke to my spouse, because for me it was very, very important that my partner is there for my decision, right? So I'm glad, I'm very happy for the fact that my partner has supported me through and through on this. All he said is, if you think you're going to be happy doing this, just do it. I think, again, I'm blessed with three souls in my life, my partner and my children. And when he said that, I said, okay, I know we're going to struggle, we're going to have arguments, it's not going to be end of it, because it's just yes now. It's like a marriage. You say yes now and then you realize ye to nahi tha mere life mein, you'll have a package of surprises.
True.
So, so but then we decided to take it forward with that. And honestly, Meenu, for me, life has also taught me a couple of things, in a couple of practices that I strongly take it forward. And I recommend this to people that I coach in life. Um, Life is full of choices, right? Absolutely. Now, if I'm going to take you to a polar bear ice cream parlor, and I tell you to pick a flavor, you would pick one flavor, right? Maybe chocolate. And you say, okay. Or if I tell you there's only vanilla and chocolate, what would you pick?
Again, it's choice.
Yeah. But once you eat chocolate and I'm eating vanilla here, you should not feel upset about it. You should be happy with the choice that you have made in life,
True.
right? So that's one thing that I always practice is I pick choices, and the choice that I pick, I get committed to it.
Mm.
Yeah.
Amazing. Very insightful. In fact, I love the fact that how your family is so supportive about whatever you wanted to do, and you also had that awareness that you take their consent and make them aware that see this is what I'm planning and not taking any hasty decision. And once you have that support, and then you follow your purpose. So that is something which is, I mean, commendable. I must tell you that's beautiful. And in fact, the whole conversation had been such that there were so many insights which I have learned. I'm sure audience, whoever would be listening or watching this, would be getting a lot of it. And I'm mindful of time as well. If you realize it's been a lot
Yeah.
of time, and we did discuss, even if it goes further, we are fine with it. However, I believe that we have to definitely have a second part with you as well, because there's a lot more to talk about. So I guess any last I mean thought you want to share before we conclude for the day?
Um, I would say that my journey has never been very easy,
Mm.
or it was not something that has been difficult either. Uh, and what I would definitely say is I enjoyed every part of it. I think that's what is important. And the day, see, the moment that you experience, you might feel upset, you might feel granted. I mean, I felt it. I mean, I was disappointed, dejected, rejected, emotionally imbalanced, all of that. But the day I had my reflection about it, I felt happy because there was a learning that I could take through. And I said, okay, this is how it has to be, right? And I really recommend people, whatever they do, just think about two things in life. What is it that they are looking for it right now? Like right now. The minute I say right now, now is also gone, right? And the second thing is do it for yourself.
Mm.
Don't do it for your family. Don't do it like I'm a very, very strong believer. Okay, I'm a spiritualist. I can get into that whole conversation and probably, maybe divert the topic for today, but I won't do that. I will make sure that I don't do that. But to be honest, I have been talking to people and I keep telling this that every soul has come for a purpose, right? And I understand there is relationship. I understand there is this father, mother, grandparents, family, inherent uh, spouse, children, whatever that you are leading with, boyfriend, girlfriend. But these are pages of your life that you are writing. You
Mm.
need to remember this. These are stories and pages that you are writing and you're turning. You're the writer, you're the author, you're the publisher of your own book. That's all.
Very true.
Nobody else is going to write for you. Nobody else is going to publish your book,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And if everybody thinks about themselves in this form, I think we are leading a very happy life.
I'm sure if we follow your journey, yes, eventually you are happy. Whatever decisions you have taken, you own them and you have learned through them. You have emerged out as a stronger and better person, and that's what all we need at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
We could sleep peacefully, as you said. You sleep peacefully, joyfully. So that's amazing. Okay, so we are just nearing towards the end of our conversation today. Just last question: how did you like the last 1.5 hour which we had?
Oh, it's been a wonderful journey, I would say. You just took me back to my childhood, my, some me great memories with my grandparents, um, and like it really helped because I do love, like I said, I reflect a lot. I mean, for me, the stories that I keep telling my children about is they're like, okay, Mama, can
सुन
you
लिया बस बहुत हो गया.
but it is so important for us, right? And I make sure that they know their roots at the end
Hmm.
of the day. So you took me back to my roots in this whole conversation, and it is really nice. And I know there have been a lot of my personal stories and my certain very connected to me that I probably wouldn't have shared I otherwise. But
Mm.
I'm glad that you could pull that out of me and made me speak about it. And to all the listeners, of course, I would like to say that this is my story and this is very personal to me. Um, I don't know how much of it would inspire each one of you. I don't know how much of it would make sense to you. But I would love all of you to just reflect upon your own story. And I'm sure that is what the inspiration is from. So,
Mm.
and that's very important.
Yeah, and as
Thank you.
Soujanya
Thank
said,
you.
everyone, that you are the writer, publisher, and director and author of your own story. So make best use of it. Write the best one for yourself, right? So thank you so much, Soujanya. It was really, really insightful listening to you. And I know it was a long conversation. Thank you so much for your time and energy with which you said it was. I was delighted listening to it. In fact, I've got goosebumps two, three times when you were sharing your story, and it was really amazing having you on the show. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Meenu. It was pleasure. Like I said in the beginning, when you said this, come speak on this podcast, I was like, are you sure? Like, do you really want me to speak about it? I was equally anxious as well as excited. But thank you for giving that whole warmth in terms of welcoming it and making it very easy to have this podcast with you. It has always been a pleasure talking to you. I think we've had a lot of conversations about life and people and what we do as mothers. But today's conversation has been very close to my heart. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much.